Hey guys. Okay, so give me just a second here, because for whatever reason, the YouTube chat box hasn't been showing up correctly, and I haven't been able to properly fix it until I started streaming. There we go. Oh, it's working, and it's catching up to everything it missed. Okay, we're all good. Picture perfect. Alright, so as you're probably all aware, the new content patch just dropped, and as I always do, I'm going to talk about it. Now, make sure you guys let me know if audio balancing is weird or anything like that. So, let's get the ball rolling, yeah? Let's just close that out. Cool. Okay, the Hope of Three Generations. When was the last stage event? That would have been the Fortress, wasn't it? And that was 2 months ago or something like that. So, it's been a while. Give me a sec. Let me just move my microphone a smidgen closer here. That way I don't have to talk as loud. There. And should be a little easier to hear me. Okay. Exchange shop. Okay. Let's take a look-see at a 3-generation coin exchange. Sound is 5x5. Alright, cool. 40 was the last stage. Yep. Okay, cool. So the age 3 normal. Let's get cracking. Long shooter, job shooting crit rate boost. Crit rate's not really a big deal. Okay, for a welfare, this actually has like decent shot attack on it. I'm pretty sure we've seen better. But this is at least in the higher spectrum of it. So, Gundam type, mid-range. Okay, wait, no. Welfare. I think we normally, it's like what, 12 to 15? So, I'd have to go and look at other welfares. This is actually just below average then. It's been a while since we had a real good like shooter welfare head, so okay. Gundam type and mid range aren't really going to be doing anything for the suit, but yeah, aesthetics, I guess. Let's look at the torso. The Blustia, I still don't know how to properly pronounce it, cannon. A-D. Yep, fire a gigantic beam, Gundam type, mid-range, 0. So let me just get this straight. You create a torso that has a beam-ranged attack that fires a colossal laser beam, and you also give it 0 shot attack. Impressive. Gundam type mid-range again. Unfortunately, as it is D power, it's not going to be very convenient for high damage. Surprise. The word tags really aren't going to be helping it too much either, and stat-wise, not really. Okay, let's look at the arms. In shield, beam saber. I'm going to assume that is a beam saber in the shield. Ha 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 ha. A flurry of invisible blows from the saber on your forearm. Invisible. I must have missed something in age, but I was pretty sure all the beam weapons were visible. Okie doke. DB plus, at least has B plus power on it. 6-second cooldown, so it's not a cutscene or anything. Much lower than average melee attack. What you'd expect from arms for like a literal, barely acceptable shot attack, Gundam type mid-range. So the EX skill with the B plus is pretty nice. Unfortunately, it's not going to make not a magazine type, and the word tags really aren't doing it justice either. Again, an aesthetic part. Gundam age 3 normal legs. When shot attack is over 10,000, projectile speed boost. Very easy to achieve the former, but there's no reason because the latter is just not that great. Gundam type for urban area. Again, the word tags aren't really helping it. Like, I guess you could argue Gundam type is a good tag now because we have that one trait that shines with it. But I don't think, like, it's just not prevalent enough to really make it worth investing heavily into the Gundam type. Obviously, if your build denotes it, go for it. But for the general player base, it's not really an amazing tag. Arguably, people go, oh, it's a great for a defensive suit, and that's fine. But, oh, actually. To go on a wee of a tangent, I'm still going to talk about GBGW, just not about the age. Someone in a previous video of mine brought up a interesting point. They said that a lot of the more defensive suits have been glossed over because we don't really like defensive stats. And I understand what you mean, because they brought up the change gear, where we now have the 15% or 20% changeover from a defensive stat gets added to your offensive stat of choice. And I understand where they were coming from. A lot of people are sleeping on defensive builds because they assume that we forgot that the change gear exists, which isn't the case. It's just, you gotta remember, why would I concern myself with 15%? Okay, let's look at it like this. I can choose between a part that has 3,400 melee attack, or a part that has 2,300 melee attack. The difference between them being the one that has the lower melee attack has 500 extra defense. Nice. 15% of that, though. And that's what I mean. Don't misunderstand. You can have a very powerful defensive build that if you use the change gears appropriately. However, you also have to remember that the flat trade-offs typically aren't worth it number-wise. And I say typically, there's obviously going to be exceptions. But just remember, the reason that a lot of the people reviewing the parts look at the higher offensive stat parts as like, nice, is because even though you can invest into something defensive and cross your fingers and hope the change gear does its magic, it's not going to really do as much as you hope. An excellent example is they even bring up the fact that the only reason the Kshatriya, one of my favorite suit in this game, is so good is because its defensive stats are very high. So the change gear brings a lot of stats to it, which is true. But I also know that I'll never be able to break that 50k barrier. I'm actually debating if I'm actually going to be able to break the 45k. And that's the thing. Defensive stats are good, defensive builds are good, but I don't think that they'll, at least with the way the game works now, ever truly eclipse the purely offensive playstyle that we've been looking at. Glass cannons, pretty much. Anyways, tangent over. Let's look at the backpack now. When physical resist is over 5,000, shooting damage boot flat number, so the backpack's pretty much a write-off. Stats are what you expect from a backpack. Gundam Type 4 Urban again. Yeah, the age really got kind of slept on here. 687, 13, so very low shot attack for a ranged weapon. Reload speed boosted by 1%, not a very useful trait. Gundam Type mid-range. Frankly, the age 3 normal as a welfare suit is very much an aesthetic build type. It doesn't really bring a lot of stats to the table, doesn't bring very many, if any, high demand word tags to the table, and the traits and EX skills are very meh. Like, you have the one good one on the arms, but even that's debatable considering what else we have available in the arm slots, so. Yeah. Alright, what are this week's golds? Power. I need a lot of those, so that works out very well for me. The normal tags we got here, we have Gundam Type, okay. Mobile Fighter, cool. Cool. Heavy Armor, alright. Long Range, and 4 Tundra. Okay. Okay. Interesting chip selection, I guess. Okay. Oh, really? Nothing else to see here. Let's move on to the gacha. You complete the SF but still can't break 45k. As somebody said, I didn't say Strike Freedom, Kshatriya. Because it is a more defensive-oriented suit, so the change gear brings a lot of the stats to the table for it. Even though it does have really high stats, it is a Sokai suit. It will never be able to eclipse offensively something like the Strike Freedom or more shot-oriented suits. Granted, it obviously means, the trade-off, right? I have lower offensive stats, but my defensive stats are higher. But as we've seen through much higher level play and people with the really big, stupid 50k plus numbers, it just doesn't scale as well. You want to go offensive, not so much defensive. So okay. Oh yeah, in case you missed it, they did add a step up for the Sinanju and what else is in here? Sinanju, Zeta. Is that it? There's got to be more than just that, no? Oh yeah. Okay, so it's like an all Sokai thing that's all Sokai and limiteds, and you get 3-step on it. Cool. See, that's actually really interesting. To take another brief tangent, I think it's actually a really cool idea that if they continue with this, to give us step ups for the non-raid ups and, obviously for raid ups, but on every week we don't have a limited or a Sokai, give us something like this 3-step up where we are able to roll past Sokais. And the only reason I say this is a neat thing is for people that have excess Haro or people that maybe want Sokai, they just started a brand new account or something, have the accessibility being able to roll or re-roll for what they want. It won't help players that are free to play and have played for a while, but appeal to more people, right? It's not really a detriment to anyone, and all it's really doing is helping Bandai kind of fill their wallets up, and hopefully we don't get a repeat of something like the new Xeon because of things like this. So, okay. Who's first up? The Shin Musha Sengoku no Jin. What do we got? Okay, so just above higher than average melee, it's lower than average shot attack, but it is a melee-centric suit. Speed attribute, shooting crit rate boost, not that useful. Slightly higher than average armor on this. Heavy armor and Gundam type tags. So as we were just talking about defensive suits, I think this is very topical. This suit will have the defensive stats, not as good as a defensive Sokai, but still hefty numbers. Unfortunately, the change gear won't be able to salvage it, which is a shame. But, aesthetically, it does look pretty baller. While heavy armor, shooting power boosted. That is a pretty cool torso part if your machine has heavy armor. Unfortunately, most shot-focused builds don't really build on heavy armor, so I don't really see much of a use for this unless you're doing something really silly, like how I have ace-exclusive high firepower in Xeon. Right? So, heavy armor Gundam type, very high in the defensive stats, pretty much average melee and shot attack, cool. Arms, just under, so that's like 2800 melee attack on the arms. When attacking the physical, melee power boost. Oh, at max it's 17%? No. Okay, 30, good, jeez. Okay. Cool. Oh, this is another one of those gachas where the part comes at level 80, eh? Yes, sorry, cool. So I don't have to be doing numbers in my head. That's most excellent. I will have to for traits, though. Okay. Anyways, so looking at the arms, the trait is, pretty cool. It's kind of like, 3177. That's not 99, so it's actually not bad. Actually, on that note, let me just go back and double check these. I'm pretty sure I just by nature hit the buttons, so... Yeah, so the head has, much lower than average shot attack. Okay, so that was good. Torso, 384s. Okay. So, numbers-wise, this is more or less equivalent to the Barbados 4th. I think the Barbados 4th, though, broke 3200. Somebody might want to double check me on that. Not that it's really relevant, because the Barbados 4th at least had better word tags on it, but this is more or less an aesthetic difference and tag difference, but it offers the same trait, so it's pretty much up to you on that one whether or not you like it. Actually, wait, was it just melee boost? Yeah, it was if you're in fighter, you get just a melee boost, so this is different. This is just when you're using physical, which is most of the good melee, you get a boost. A little more restrictive in usage then. So it's a little more than just an aesthetic difference. Not bad. I don't know if I'd run it as a mainstay part though, or really use it as anything beyond an aesthetic option. At least with the skinning system coming in 2.1, that should be a little easier to do for us, so there's at least that. Okay, what do we got for the legs? Nichiren Maru. Unleash a barrage of attacks, AD. Alright, D-spread immediately makes it meh, especially considering it's a physical melee type skill. Stats are what you'd expect from a pair of legs. Heavy armor for computers. 5. Shin Sanrai Nichirigiri. DA. Okay, raise melee attack. And bring your enemies to heal in a single stroke. This almost looks like an offshoot of Bisect, except for the back, and obviously no heal. Okay. Heavy armor at least has close combat, so there's at least that saving grace for it. I'd put this at an okay part. It has pretty much what you'd expect from a backpack stat-wise. It at least has close combat, and the EX skill's not horrible. So, you know, there's that. It is a cutscene EX with B plus power, or B power, so, you know, it's got that going for it. I don't know if I'd say the arms are strong on the, my brain is just slipping on the name of the suit, but on this machine, I don't think the arms are very good. They may be good on the other one I haven't looked at yet, but for this one, like, they're okay. They're not great, and the Eat trait is a little limiting, but yeah. Okay. While close combat, EX skill power boost. Now, here's the thing, right? It doesn't have bad melee attack, as it does have, like, what? This is third or second highest melee cap in the game that we have right now. I think it's third now with the Strike Justice or the Strike Freedom and Infinite Justice. It has close combat. However, actually, you know what? I don't think there's really much of an equivalent that brings close combat, is there? Because most melee suits are going to have close combat, if not all of them. Your weapon slot... Yeah, that's the problem, though, is that there's so many really, really good weapons that this one doesn't really shine, other than the fact that it's, you know, a single blade instead of a dual blade or something like that. That's really its only unique selling point. It's a good single blade. Still not beating Tiger, yeah, but it's not directly competing against Tiger Gerbera. That's the thing. If it was a dual blade, out. But because it's not a dual blade, it's a single blade, there's room for usage in this. If you have parts that specifically require this type of weapon, things like that, this may be an option for you. In direct comparison, though, it's very hard to beat the Gerbera Straight Tiger Pierce. So, yeah, no, the part trait's not bad. At least has very good offensive stats to go with it, and it does have close combat, meaning you'd really only be looking for high firepower or a pro tag on a sub slot if you were to use this. Maybe a different part trait, but I wouldn't recommend it. This is a very powerful part trait to have on a melee weapon. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good, you know? My opinion changed as I looked at it. That's what happens. 3997. Okay, so again, another very offensive weapon. With speed attribute, enemy melee power reduced, heavy armor Gundam type. So this is pretty much the not so good melee weapon of the batch. Doesn't really have any great tags going for it. Its trait is more of a supporty type, but it's very good in the stat department. So, meh. Definitely put out a meh, because you can sub-slot and still make great use of it. So, the Denko Maru. Cool. Unleash a barrage of attacks with your Naginata. 21 second, 3S cooldown, DB. So it's going to hit like a wet noodle. Again, very, very odd to see on a physical melee EX skill, but here we are. Stat-wise, nothing to complain about. Has close combat. So again, a lot like the sword. You know, it's not terrible, but unlike the sword, you would want to change out its trait / EX skill, and you would want to change out, obviously, the same word tag. But at least stat-wise, this would be good for a front-running part, but that's really it. But you know what? If you're in the market for the Naginata-style weapon as your front piece, there you go. We have a few options that have okay traits, so not like you're completely out of options, right? With speed attribute, initial EX skill charge boost. Oh, it's very easy to get your hands on speed type. Cool. Heavy armor for computers, and its shot attack hurts. So if you're running a speed type melee machine, this may be a very useful thing to slot. No melee attack, but that's pretty typical for ranged weapons. It has no good word tags, so this would be sub-slotted purely for the trait. You know, unless your build needs heavy armor or 4 computers, but you know what? That's going to be a you thing, not a me thing to worry about. So we'll bop right on along to the Star Burning. Flintlock rifle, yeah, it is aesthetically pretty cool, as I think the only flintlock weapon in the game, but beyond the aesthetic, like, nice. It's... okay. Nice weapon, but you have F91 Saber if you gacha. Well, yeah, sure, but for people that aren't gacha or saving up or things like that, it's not really feasible to look at pointed F91 weapons and go, this is better. You're not wrong. And that's just not feasible. Okay. While 4 computers recover 9 armor gradually. I don't really think it matters. Yeah, 20 armor. Okay, so just so you guys know, your armor value is literally the armor shown at the very top of this, you know, this number here, added between all the parts, pilots, and everything. That's your total armor. So let's just look at this part alone. If you're recovering EX10, 20 armor a second, you have pretty much 800. You're looking at 40 seconds just to recover the armor from this piece alone. Oh, that's not... no. So that's why you don't like the flat heel things. Moving on. Gundam type for computers. Again, Gundam type useful in very specific setups with certain parts because there's, you know, 1-2 traits that make use of it. Stat-wise, what are we looking at? Just under the average shot attack, because most actually, I can't even say that, because we have a lot of heads that you can select from the pool that break 3k shot attacks. So having under 3k shot attack puts it at the below average. So, trait, not that great. Stats, not that great. Word tags, extremely situational. Alright, well, let's look at the torso. Bada bada boom. RG system, yep, okay. Awakening, speed, and melee attack boost, cool. It's nice that it's in the torso instead of the head like every other awakening ever. Stat-wise, oh, look at this. We actually have a non-Sokai Battle Festival part that actually has much higher than average offensive stats on it. Gotta remember, typically a torso is going to be running just under 400 at level 80. So this has pretty much twice that. Granted, there are obviously other outliers, but this is nice to see. You can ticket this. I don't really know what to say about the paint schema, but you know, I'm not really a fan of how this suit looks, so. Gundam Type 4 computer's not going to really be that helpful. So what does this have going for it? Good stats, EX skill awakening that gives decent buffs. Word tags no. So, okay. Moving right along. The Star Burning Arms. 2785. Okay, so this has higher than average shot attack, lower than average melee attack, Gundam type close combat. Not so good to have lower than average melee attack when you're screaming close combat. Hyperstar, raise your melee attack by 1%, be plus 6 seconds. Hits hard, low initial cooldown, non-cutscene type, melee boost. Not bad, actually. Like, it could be a lot worse, but not bad. Again, Gundam type tag haunts us forever. Okay. The legs. Nice. Again, we're seeing a higher than average stat spread here. Cool. On the melee side, which is useful because it is a melee spec suit. Close combat complements that. What about this? B minus, B plus, no buffs. Okay. If it was at least B, I'd say this is pretty good, but at B minus, I'm not really feeling it. Has close combat, has good stats. I think the EX skill could use a little work, but it's a workable part for sure. Outfighter Jaw, melee power boosted. It's very easy to get a decent Outfighter Jaw these days. Not a bad melee boost, especially considering you can just kind of pick the part. Stat-wise, melee is higher than average, Gundam type, and Protag. So pretty much what I'm seeing from this suit is it's kind of like a halfway point between a limited suit and a non-limited suit, which is nice. You get your stats, but not so good word tags, traits, EX skills, whatever. So I'm okay with that. Variety is the spice of life. Beam rifle. 3582 shot attack, so under the curve for high tier Gundam type close combat. Why? Well, power attribute, initial EX skill charge boost by %. Okay. So this is definitely something you'd want to sub-slot on a melee build. If you have something in the front that has any kind of melee give, you have yourself a pretty handy part trait if your machine is power. This could also work on a gun as a sub-slot because of the trait on it. If you don't have a good EX skill or trait on what you currently have. Stat-wise, though, for shot machines, there's a lot better available, and obviously word tag, you don't want this on a shot machine, but for melee, you know. Okay. I swear, like, every stream, no matter what I do, my phone's in do not disturb mode, and messages still show up. I don't get it. I'm gonna have to figure that out for the next one, so I stop getting notifications. Anyways, the refractable barrels. This is the big one. This is going to be it folded out. When 2 enemies shot down, reduce cooldown by 50%. I've stated my opinion on the reduced cooldown after you shoot down 2 things, or, 2 things shot down before, so I'm not going to do it again and bore everyone to death. Gundam type Protag. Okay, so an alternative to close combat. Stat-wise, pretty much the exact same as the previous weapon. This definitely shines as more of a melee-type weapon in the primary slot or sub-slot, but for shot machines, this would purely be like a sub-slot kind of dealio. And the shield. What's that? Special shot crit rate? That's a write-off. Gundam type Protag. Protag on a shield's not bad. Oh, we have offensive stats as well. Cool. Okay, so you get your offensive stats, you get your Protag, and the part trait can just get swiped out with something else. Not bad for a shield. Again, more variety instead of just like the wing and stuff like that, so yeah. No, Adrian, I only rolled for the Strike Freedom. I did not roll for the Infinite Justice at all. I have no idea why people kept asking if I was rolling for the Infinite Justice, if I had rolled the Infinite Justice or anything like that, because I don't recall ever saying I was ever going to even think about rolling for it. And I said the Strike Freedom, and only the Strike Freedom. Unless I was really drunk and forgot. But anyways, let's go look at the pilots now. We'll start with 4 Murasame. Well, technique attribute buff the X skill. Not really a fan of that, as probably most of you know. Looks like she's one of the 500 mono statters, which is not great, especially as a long shooter Gundam type transformer. Now, those word tags are desirable to a lot of shot machine users, as there are parts that use transformer that are good, same with melee and whatnot. So the word tags is pretty much what you'd be using this pilot for. Not so much the part trait, definitely not so much the stats. So, food for thought, but she is a 3-star, meaning the chance of you getting her through a standard capsule ticket is pretty high. And let's look at Bellri. When armor is 60% or more, all power boost. That looks mighty familiar. Gundam type, high mobility. Stat distribution wise, he's what, 800 mono? Outfighter? Okay. He's saved purely by his trait. I guess the Gundam type word tag as well for the people that can use it. But yeah, stat wise, not that great. The job is a dime a dozen, so it's not like you have to settle with him for stats or something. The trait is good, though. He is a 4-star. Do remember that we are getting more access to 4-star AI pick tickets, meaning that a 4-star with this ability may actually be more important than a 3-star, because not only is this a very easy activation trigger, but you're able to get more copies of him relatively easily using the pick tickets. So, keep that in mind. I don't personally think he's really worth wailing for or anything. Neither of the pilots are. Anyways, with that, looks like we've gone over all the new content. Bada bing, bada boom, guys. Okay, well, with that, I'm going to wrap up. It is 11:30. I have some stuff I need to do for tomorrow. For everyone that participated in the headphone giveaway, I have sent all the packages out. You've probably got a DM from me if you haven't checked Discord yet, so do give it a look. If you have a tracking number, it's sitting there in your DMs. For everyone that participated in the Gunpla giveaway way back in January, all those were shipped out too to everyone that responded to my most recent request. Current world events kind of threw a wrench in everything, so I only just got those packages out, and International Customs asked for a little bit more than I originally needed. So anyways, everything's sent out, all is good, this video is done. Just before I wrap up though, I want to let you know, on my Discord, which is linked in the description, I am holding a poll which will go live as soon as the stream ends. This poll is pretty much asking you guys what you want me to stream to fill the content void I have between Wednesday and Friday. I have a preset list of games that I've kind of thought about, and yeah, this would be pretty fun for me to play and stream. So if you want to participate and throw in your vote, just join the Discord and do so. Oh, thanks for the donation. Not quite sure how to pronounce that, but thank you, Space, for the donation. 10 out of 10. Keep up the awesome. Yeah, well, I'll try as long as the content keeps coming out. So anyways, thanks out, guys. I will see you probably tomorrow doing a stream of something if you want to tune in. I'll be streaming on YouTube to start with, and I'll look into streaming to Twitch as well to kind of do a split stream thing. See if that jives. Peace out. See you in the next one.